Reading.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, I indicate that I'll be the lead speaker for the opposition on this bill. Mr Speaker, what is a budget? Budget is more than just numbers. It's a commitment to prioritise the needs of our people, to allocate public resources wisely, to uphold the promise that South Australia will support those who work hard and contribute to our state. It's about ensuring families can afford homes, businesses can thrive, and communities are safe and prosperous. A budget should reflect the aspirations of South Australians, not betray them with spin, excessive debt and broken promises. Yet that's exactly what this Labor's government's budget delivers. Mr Speaker, South Australia is a state of boundless potential, built by generations. Those generations believed in a simple promise: work hard, do the right thing, and this great state will have your back. So my own family, like many families, arrived in the 1950s with nothing but a suitcase, a dream, an aspiration, and an unshakable belief in that promise. And this state and this country has been nothing but a place of abundance for those people. So South Australians still believe in that promise. But today, South Australians are facing mounting pressure. The cost of living is crushing. Home ownership is slipping out of reach. Our health system is under incredible pressure. Crime is spiralling, and our regions are in drought, desperate for support. So I've had great privilege. I've travelled the length and the breadth of this state over the last around 12 years as an MP, listening to drought-stricken farmers recently, seeing young people now that have been locked out of home ownership, that we've seen families let down by Labor's health system, and hard-working South Australians, at the moment, they can't make ends meet. This budget was Labor's last chance before the election to deliver real relief, to restore hope, and to stand with our regions. Instead, what do we get? One of the worst budgets I've ever seen, sir. We got a shrug, literally a shrug. We got an arrogant, a visionless budget from a government, and it seems like they've stopped even pretending to care. No ambition, no big ideas, just more debt, more excuses, and more broken promises. Labor's election budget, sir, is built on arrogance, not outcomes. This was Labor's last chance to lay the foundations for South Australia's future, not paper over the past. Now, if this is Labor's pitch for re-election, well, let me tell you, it is dangerously out of touch. Let's look at what they've delivered in government. 44% spike in electricity prices for the average household, rising rents that are swallowing more than a third of incomes, no clear plan for housing or innovation, a worsening ramping crisis, now 36 months of the worst in our history, despite their ironclad promises, and ballooning debt, now projected to cost $6.7 million a day in interest. Shame. All while, the Premier, what does he do? Attends concerts, attends events. Apparently there's another bill today, sir. It's a very important matter. We've got to deal with it straight away. It's about a golf course. And ignoring the core issues facing our state. You might be wondering, sir, at a time like this, why is Party Pete so focused on events? Well, sir, we've seen this episode before. It goes way back, just as the Roman emperors did with the gladiators in the Colosseum, sir. It's about distracting the rest of us from the issues right on our doorstep. That's why they're doing it today. I mean, they think the people of South Australia are stupid, sir. Well, they're not. They're not stupid. Because you know what, sir? Look at where we are as a state. Housing market here in South Australia, the 6th least affordable in the world. Our tradie shortage is growing. Youth crime has skyrocketed, with breach of bail offences up by almost 60% in some instances. Regional families are being ignored, sir. Ignored right across our state. And Labor's hydrogen energy plan, what happened to that? a multi-million-dollar failure. It's not just incompetence, sir. It's betrayal. It's betrayal of working families. It's betrayal of our future. And it's time that this government stopped underestimating the people of this great state. Mr. Speaker, with an election just months away, South Australians might be asking, can we afford 4 more years of Labor? It's a genuine question. 4 more years of broken promises, 4 more years of rising costs, 4 more years of crumbling systems, and 4 more years of excuses. Or is there another way forward? Well, the simple answer is there is another way forward. A Liberal way forward, sir. A Liberal alternative that will ease cost of living pressures, that will build more homes, that will slash red tape, that will restore responsible financial management and deliver safer communities and better services, and focus on future industries like defence, AI, robotics. A Liberal vision to restore the promise of South Australia, where hard work is rewarded, where every family can own a home, and where our communities are safe, they are prosperous, and they are proud. But right now, we know that South Australians have lived through a tough 3 years under state and federal Labor governments. And behind the glitz and glam of this good time party premier lies a much dimmer reality. Labor has shattered the intergenerational promise that hard work ensures opportunity for future generations. Right now, young South Australians can't afford to even get into a home. The cost of living's a gut punch and hope is fading fast. Labor talk about priorities. Remember what they were elected on. They were elected on a slogan of the right priorities. Remember that? Remember the corflute? Remember the little thumbs up in the corner? We will remember the signs. Well, it's no surprise to members on this side of the House, sir, that in government, Labor has been focused on anything but the right priorities, sir. They could have brought any bill forward that was of importance today, and what do they want to talk about? A golf course in North Adelaide. Pathetic. Pathetic. During the worst drought in living memory in this state's history, and they want to talk a golf course. They've spent over $100 million on government advertising, including classics like, remember the State Prosperity Project? What a joke that's been. Remember the one that said building a better healthcare system? Well, that wasn't on the corflute, sir, the last time I checked. Labor are not wise stewards of taxpayers' money. They clearly do not respect it, sir. They've spent millions of hard-working South Australians' taxpayer dollars sending Labor ministers on overseas trips to the likes of the Cannes Films Festival, sir, to fly around the world spruiking a failed hydrogen experiment, sir. Because Labor disrespects taxpayers' money. It's one thing to do these trips and then bring back a benefit. But when you go to Spain to see a train and you don't bring a train back, sir, and when you go to Europe to look at some of these festivals and you don't bring a festival back, sir, well, that's a waste of money. Labor disrespects taxpayers' money. They waste millions on frivolous trips and failed projects. Since the election, the Premier's been riding the wave of event after event, often the taxpayer dime. Premier spends his time living it up on that dime. The likes of Sam Smith, Fisher, the Tindalls, Greg Norman, Katy Perry. I mean, that's where he's most comfortable, right? And who doesn't like Katy Perry, sir? We like the events too. They can generate interest and dollars for the state. But that can't be the whole plan, sir. You can't run an economy on just events. Not when we're facing serious statewide issues. Now remember, South Australians, they were told to vote a certain way, like their life depended on it, sir. We saw the ads. Labor made an ironclad promise at the last election to the people of South Australia to fix the ramping crisis. Well, so we're now in the fourth quarter. We're now in the fourth quarter, around 80% of the way through this term, and Labor continues to preside over record levels of ramping. 36 months of the worst ramping in our state's history. I mean, hang your heads in shame. Just last month, South Australians endured the third worst month for hours lost to ambulance ramping in the history of our state. Are these the right priorities, sir, that South Australians were promised? Ramping, hydrogen, and the right priorities aren't where the broken promises end, though, Mr. Speaker. Remember, Labor promised to deliver a $593 million hydrogen jobs plan by the end of 2025 that would reduce wholesale electricity prices by 8%. Well, how has that gone, sir? They've broken that promise too. And too many South Australians today are choosing between putting the heater on and eating. Yet this budget is silent on bringing down the cost of electricity or forging a proper new plan for our grid following Labor's hydrogen disaster. So recently, even in my own electorate, in Felixstowe, I was standing at a supermarket and I saw a lady come up to me. Her name is Maria, and she had 3 jumpers on. And I said, Maria, why are you wearing 3 jumpers? This is a true story. It was on a Saturday morning. And she said, Vincent, at the moment, I can't afford to keep the heater on. And there are stories like this, especially amongst pensioners, right throughout the state. So right now, SCOSA figures show that under Labor, the average household is paying something like $798 more on their annual power bill, nearly 44% more, a substantial rise for SA families during a cost of living crisis. And we've all received complaints, sir, from businesses that are doing it tough at the moment, where the disparity is even worse. The bill crunch has flowed onto small business, with electricity prices for small businesses rising from $3,679 under the former Liberal government to $5,364 under the Malinowskis Labor government, an increase of $1,685, sir, or nearly 46%. This Labor Premier promised a hydrogen power plant. It was meant to power 60 to 90,000 homes by the end of 2025. It was a very clear promise, sir. The hydrogen power plant was meant to reduce, they said, wholesale electricity costs by 8%. But we know prices have skyrocketed for households and businesses alike. Millions of dollars have been wasted on Labor's failed hydrogen experiment. So it's been a farce, it's been an embarrassment, not just a state embarrassment, but an embarrassment to the rest of Australia. Now, you'd think that they would hold those responsible with delivering or not delivering these projects accountable, right? Well, wrong. Wrong. Premier today talks about concerts like AC/DC. Well, sir, at least AC/DC gave us some high-voltage rock and roll, sir. Because I tell you what, this Premier, all he's done is give us high-voltage power bills, sir. High-voltage power bills, wasting millions on a hydrogen vanity that's all spin, that's no spark, it's a flop, and it fizzled before it fired. And what do they do with their mate? Their $600,000 a year mate. Well, Labor's promoted him, his mate, their mate that's getting paid 600 grand a year, with delivering now as the state lead for the Whyalla Steelworks industrial transformation. That's how they look after their mates, sir. This Labor's Premier's hydrogen fail is just another promise from just another politician. And in hydrogen, sir, we see a theme repeating. Labor does not respect taxpayer money. They have ended an era of responsible financial management. It's gone. The state's near $50 billion of debt projected in the state budget has sparked a credit warning from credit agency S&P Global, who warned that new spending could nudge South Australia closer to the downside threshold for our rating on the state. And this month, Labor delivered a budget that will see an eye-watering $6.7 million a day needed on average in interest repayments by the end of the forward estimates. Over $1 billion lost to interest each year, money that could go towards hospitals, schools and services. But instead, sir, it's going to paying debt. Labor's raiding our kids' piggy banks, sir, and they're locking in debts for generations. So my wife and I are expecting a child in about a month's time. But unfortunately, every child that's born in this state look like what they're going to inherit is a debt from the state of something like $24,000, and where will it end? So it was once said, if we are consciously going to burden future generations with unprecedented debt, then the least they are owed is a plan to pay that debt back while also inheriting a better society. Do you know who said that, sir? Those were the words of the now Premier, when he stood where I stand only 4 years ago. By his words, he will be judged by young people today and generations to come. We need a government that doesn't just talk big on debt management, but delivers. And that's why, sir, if we're elected, a Tarsi Liberal government will commit to delivering a debt management plan in government so that South Australians can have confidence that state debt remains at a sustainable level. And only a Liberal government will arrest Labor's out-of-control debt growth and fix the budget. Mr. Speaker, as I begin to lay out some of our plan, I want to talk about housing, because we know that housing is the beating heart of the South Australian dream. And unfortunately, it's now locked behind Labor's wall of inaction. As Darryl Kerrigan said, sir, it's not a house, it's a home. The Australian dream has long been built around a place to call home, a stake in society, a place to conserve, a place to protect. Well, sir, I still believe in that dream, but I fear it has already slipped out of reach for many. Liberal Party founder, Sir Robert Menzies, he championed his vision of a home-owning democracy, because he understood that the foundation of a strong society lies in empowering individuals to build lives of stability. Because when people own a home, they usually stay, they build wealth, they invest in that home. Home ownership develops invested citizens whose long-term buy-in helps to grow the economy. And unfortunately, sir, what we've seen from 8 consecutive quarters is net interstate migration that is going backwards here in South Australia. Today, the home ownership vision, sir, is under threat. Home ownership is slipping beyond reach. It's eroding the very aspiration that fuels many of our shared values. South Australia is in the grip of a housing crisis. It is crushing dreams and hollowing out our future economy. Our capital city, Adelaide, is now the 6th least affordable city in the world to buy a home. According to Demographia, Adelaide homes are impossibly unaffordable, ranking us as the 6th least affordable city in the world. Worse than San Francisco, worse than London. It's a crisis and Labor has no answer. According to ANZ, Adelaide is now the least affordable capital city to rent and the 2nd least affordable to buy in the nation. Shame. South Australia faces a housing supply shortage of a staggering proportion. Already 1,500 homes short of targets in just 6 months, with a projected 34% undersupply by 2029. Shame. And worse, we're on track to be 30,000 workers short across construction, property and water industries by next year, under a scenario where all policy objectives are achieved. Migration has surged, but infrastructure hasn't kept up. Labor government, sir, well, what do? They agreed to a national housing accord, promising 1.2 million homes nationwide. Remember that? But so far it's failing, with South Australia on track to miss its target, according to the UDIA, by 34%. Red tape combined with up to $237,000 in government fees, charges and taxes on new homes is limiting increases in supply. Graduates, tradies, young families are now the faces of a generation that are locked out of home ownership. Key workers, police, electricians, childcare workers, they can't afford to buy or even rent in some cases where they work. Meanwhile, what is rent doing? Eating up 34.6% on average of income, worse than Sydney or Melbourne, making it harder to save. In fact, saving a deposit now takes on average 11.8 years. And I often hear from young people going through this challenge on the weekend. We were out in the northeast with a guy called Michael, who's 30 years old, who only saves around $5,000 to $10,000 a year. Young people are becoming trapped in this vicious cycle. It's not just a housing problem, it's a betrayal of hard-working South Australians by a do-nothing Labor government. 20 years ago, sir, an Adelaide home cost 4 times a household's income, with 35 cents per dollar servicing a mortgage. Today, it's 9 times income, demanding 56%. It's nearly as bad as Sydney. For too many, homelessness has become an all-too-possible threat. And we're seeing that, sir, across our suburbs, across Adelaide right now. The crisis is not just about homes, it's killing our economy. Unaffordable housing, what does it do? It shrinks families, it limits jobs mobility, and it stifles innovation as well. Question is, sir, do we want to live in a state where the only young South Australians who can buy their own homes are those with parents who can help with the down payment? Is that what we're becoming? Is that what we want here in South Australia? It's no wonder, with these conditions that have been created after nearly 20 out of 24 years of Labor government, sir, it's no wonder that young people are feeling the need to flee our state for better opportunities. All while the Treasurer gets up in the media in the week of the budget, and what does he say last week? I don't think anyone could suggest that the government should be doing more on housing, he said. Mr. Speaker, if that doesn't show you a government that is out of touch, well, I don't know what is. At the same time, they are raking in billions from stamp duty to prop up big government spending. Labor Premier, what does he do? Hides behind empty promises, grand announcements like golf courses. Well, sir, we won't wait around. Labor promised more homes. They barely laid a slab on any land release sites since 2023. We have the land. We've got the best builders. I know, sir, because a lot of them are in my electorate. We've got plumbers. We've got electricians. We just need this Labor government to get out of the way and stop treating the housing crisis as a cash cow. Our plan is bold. Slash red tape. Fast-track training of skilled apprentices. Open more land for housing where it's appropriate to do so. Reduce cost barriers for first home buyers. Because aspiring homeowners are forking out almost $50,000 in stamp duty on the median price Adelaide home, according to Domain's latest capital city quarterly data. Stamp duty, sir. Stamp duty remains one of the most inefficient taxes that there is. It's time we got serious about stamp duty relief for first home buyers, just like they do in every other state in Australia, sir. Because under Labor, at the moment, a multi-millionaire first home buyer can purchase a newly built luxury home and forego paying any stamp duty. Read into that what you will, sir. While a first home buyer looking to purchase a modest, say, existing home, a unit maybe, townhouse, pays an exorbitant fee of tens of thousands of dollars to this big spending Labor government. Well, sir, we don't think that the balance is right. Aspiring first homeowners, they can barely afford their rent, let alone simultaneously fund a new build that the numbers are telling us will take an average of 15 months to build, according to the MBA. Well, sir, if given the opportunity, a Tassie Liberal government will act where Labor has failed. A Tassie Liberal government will rebuild the South Australian dream, brick by brick. We will provide serious stamp duty relief for first home buyers. It is targeted, it is measured. Under a Tassie Liberal government, a first home buyer purchasing an existing home of up to $1 million will not pay 1 cent of stamp duty. And this will save first home buyers up to $48,000 in upfront costs on the purchase of their home. And today I can announce, sir, we will also waive a $192 mortgage registration fee for first home buyers, and this will save them the cost of their first grocery shop when moving in. Our plan doesn't just stop there. We will boost apprentices and tradies. We'll fast-track apprenticeship courses in critical industries like construction, like hospitality, like defence, responding to industry cries for skilled workers. Further, by exempting apprentices and trainees from payroll tax and lifting the payroll tax threshold from $1.5 million to $2.1 million, will empower small businesses to hire and train the workforce needed to build more homes. Because the government can't do it, sir, on its own. We need the private sector to do the lifting. This builds on previously announced commitments to establish a one-stop shop for the building industry, modelled on the Australian Building and Construction Commission. The Commissioner will cut red tape, resolve disputes and support builders, ensuring projects are delivered on time and on budget. In addition to all of this, we know we need housing built where the infrastructure is. So why aren't we doing more to build up our CBD? Well, the Liberal opposition, sir, we see great merit in increasing supply in the city centre. And I'm happy to stand here today and signal that our supply policy will speak to this ambition. We think we can increase housing capacity in the CBD to assist in building homes for more than 25,000 people. The CBD might be one of the biggest brownfield sites in Australia, so we should be considering how we remove barriers to increasing housing in our city square. We want young people to have the option to live close to their workplaces, close to their families, close to universities, close to their communities, sir. Not everyone wants to live an hour away from the city. The opposition has a vision for the CBD, and if Adelaide is going to host world-class events, then we should have a world-class, flourishing CBD. And we need to provide more foot traffic to businesses in the city that are struggling since COVID times. From suburban homes to regional infrastructure, we'll get South Australia building again. These policies aren't just about housing. It's also about hope. They're about ensuring every South Australian who works hard can own a home, raise a family, and live in a community that reflects their values. We'll stop Labor's habit of piling costs onto households, like the $85 annual SA water bill hike that everyone is paying at the moment, sir, and deliver real housing growth, not empty promises. We'll fight for a state where hard work buys a home like it used to, sir, and where families can thrive. As Liberals, we know our suburbs are the hearts of our communities, but Labor's previous 85% urban infill targets have threatened their character. And, sir, under the former Planning Minister in John Rao, my community was affected more than any other community. So I know exactly about what they did in terms of destroying parts of the community. Moving on to the environment, along with our plan for Linear Park and the River Torrens to fund environmental and recreational improvements that will enhance green spaces, will also enable more recreation, strengthen biodiversity. We want to protect and enhance our suburbs, sir. That's why we'll introduce a single Heritage Act under one Heritage Minister, simplifying the process for listing local and state heritage places too. We'll re-establish the Heritage Conservation Grants program, scrapped by Labor in 2022, and expand it to $2.5 million per year, allowing owners of local heritage places to apply. We'll also introduce powers to remediate derelict heritage buildings, preserving our history for future generations. We'll tighten demolition controls to save heritage homes and empower local councils with earlier, wider community consultation on developments. It'll be communities, not bureaucrats, that will shape our suburbs. We'll grow tree canopy by reinstating the Greener Neighbourhoods Grant Scheme and incentivise private landowners to maintain and grow our urban forest. And we'll enhance our parklands by pursuing World Heritage listing for the Adelaide Parklands and establish a committee under Green Adelaide to boost biodiversity and grow their open space by 5% by reclaiming unused built areas. And this way, our parklands will remain a global treasure for generations to come. Moving on to the drought, sir. Mr. Speaker, while our cities struggle with housing, Our regions are battling a drought that Labor refuses to take seriously. And, sir, there's an opportunity today to debate a bill, maybe about drought, maybe allowing for a state of emergency to be declared. But instead, sir, we're talking about a golf course because of this government, a golf course. South Australian farmers, sir, are on their knees. You would have them in your own electorate, sir. They are on their knees, and yet this government won't declare it an emergency and is still locking farmers out of vital funding and support when they need it most. I hear this story, sir, no matter which pocket of the state I travel to. And this budget provides little relief to South Australia's drought-stricken farmers and regional communities doing it tough. Despite worsening drought conditions across vast parts of the state, the budget contains no funding for no or low-interest concessional loans, despite many in the sector calling for it, and just $2 million towards the rural business support grants, as the government's contribution equating to just over 1,300 grants of $1,500 each. Well, last year, sir, the Liberal opposition urged Labor to prioritise drought preparation, but so far their response has been nothing but disgraceful. I was in Mount Gambier on Friday and I was hearing the same thing, sir. Lengthy delays, restrictive relief packages, barriers that leave many of our farming businesses ineligible for help. Labor's latest drought support package only allows those on farm household allowance to access ESL and work vehicle registration rebates, which is something like only 6 to 8% of our entire farming community. Well, we say, sir, all those badly affected by drought deserve support because it's farming that has held up this state for over 150 years. Create a drought hardship registry. Fast-track the relief with targeted rebates, water carting subsidies and low or no interest loans for fodder and fertiliser in farmers' time of need. Farmers don't need Labor's platitudes, sir. They're hard-working, they're pragmatic people. What they need is a government that stands with them and takes their concerns seriously. And today was a day that we could have gone about that, sir. But instead, what are we doing? We're debating a golf course which the government concedes is something urgent that we need to do today. How pathetic. So regional cost of living pressures have also been ignored. I personally welcome what the Treasurer is doing in respect of public transport in terms of fair discount for young people. But this government thinks that a school student public transport fare discount is a cost of living relief measure. But you know what, sir? You can't catch a bus that doesn't run in your town. Farmers and small businesses, sir, they need practical, immediate support, not spin and token gestures. And this government has repeatedly failed our regions and our primary industries. They failed on the drought, they've failed on plant biosecurity and crippling our tomato export markets. And so this is an area I can talk about, tomatoes. And I stood with the member for Frome and also Narunga, but recently I was in the Adelaide Plains. I was in the Adelaide Plains, I stood with migrant families, Italian, Greek. These people, their families have been through war, sir. They've been through famine overseas. They've come to this country with no English. They've faced adversity. But you know what they haven't been able to get over? They haven't been able to get over the incompetence of this government that has now forced these people into bankruptcy, which is an absolute disgrace. They failed in retaining key employers like SA Tomatoes, like Bestons, like 7 Point Pork. They failed on being able to manage a tomato virus that is treated very differently in other parts of the world. We saw it coming. We asked questions in this house, sir. Well, do you know what? There's now mortgages that have been handed over to the banks. There are now car repayments. Cars are being repossessed. There are now students that have been taken out of schools because of this government's inaction and arrogance. They failed on Sardi. They failed on Rabara fish deaths at West Beach. They failed on supporting our struggling wine grape industry. They failed on meaningful investment into regional roads. They failed on any significant investment into regional healthcare. How many more times does this government need to fail our regions and the people who put food on our plate, clothes on our back, build our homes and keep Australia running, sir? This budget was an opportunity to step up, but Labor failed. Our regions deserve better. If given an opportunity, sir, only a Tasia Liberal government will acknowledge and respect the hard work and contribution of our regional communities. Only a Liberal state government will stand alongside them to deliver the targeted and practical investment that they truly deserve. Not because of an election cycle, not because of a marginal seat, because it's the right thing to do. Why? Because, Mr. Speaker, as Liberals, we believe in rewarding those who do the right thing. Hard work, responsibility, rewarding aspiration, community spirit should be celebrated, not punished. That's why we'll introduce practical policies to ease the pressure on South Australians. Policies like we've already announced, sir, like the driver incentive policy to ensure young provisional drivers who go 3 years without an offence can have a $71 cost of their full licence renewal covered the following year. It's a small but meaningful reward for safe, responsible driving, giving young South Australians a leg up. It's important, sir, in what is another bad year on our roads. We'll introduce a baby seat installation rebate. Full disclosure, sir, I might benefit from this, but we'll see. Because we know that new parents, they face enough costs. Capped price rebate will enable initial baby seat installations, ensuring that every child travels safely. And they're hard to install, sir, let me tell you. We'll extend more accessible public transport to Mount Gambier. We want to trial an on-demand service to improve mobility for regional families, ensuring access to jobs, healthcare, education. We'll also explore expanding this model to other regional centres too. These measures send a clear message. If you work hard, if you play by the rules, if you contribute to our state, an alternative Liberal government will have your back and back you every step of the way. So Liberals at the state and federal level had a lot to say about the Greater Adelaide Freight Bypass during the election. They've long advocated for the delivery of the Greater Adelaide Freight Bypass, not only for the productivity gains it would be delivering, but also to get trucks off our suburban streets. Through this budget, we learn that the state and federal Labor governments have only budgeted something like $656 million for stage 1 of the high productivity vehicle network, despite the project reportedly likely to cost around $1.05 billion, leaving a $400 million shortfall. $480 million of the $656 million funding is pushed beyond 28-29, meaning the Greater Adelaide Freight Bypass, quite simply, doesn't look like it's fully funded, with no clarity if it will ever be under Labor. The Albanese Labor government initially committed to a 50-50 funding split, but the state Labor government is now describing the project as a $650 million 80-20 arrangement, despite the higher likely cost of $1.05 billion. Labor's trying to rewrite history and hope that no one notices. South Australians don't seem to be getting the full network, and they're not getting any of it anytime soon. The opposition and federal coalition committed to delivering the full project and quickly because freight operators, exporters, local communities can't afford to wait. And the HPVN was meant to ease pressure on Portrush Road, Cross Road and the Southeastern Freeway by moving heavy freight to a dedicated corridor. Instead of fixing congestion, Labor's letting the problem pile up. Every year they delay, more trucks hit our suburban roads and the economic benefits of the project are lost. If this project matters, well, Labor needs to fund it properly and get on with it. Because South Australians deserve more than political spin and budget trickery. Mr. Speaker, South Australians also have the right to feel safe. They have the right to feel safe in their own homes and out in the burbs. Safe in their homes, safe at their workplaces, safe in their communities. But this is no longer the case for many since Labor took office. They've turned our criminal justice system into a revolving door, and you only have to look at what is almost a 60% increase in breach of bail by youth offenders during a period under their watch. Labor has made a mockery of the justice system. Look at the court backlog, sir, and what's happening with our frontline police. Our hard-working police are sick and tired of arresting young offenders only to see them released out into the community to reoffend. Some young criminals are racking up over 100 charges in 12 months, as the media has reported. And since Labor came into office, let's look at some of the facts. We've seen acts intended to cause injury up by 36%, sexual assault and related injuries up by almost 30%, theft up by 14%, serious criminal trespass up by almost 9%, and other offences against the person like threatening behaviour and harassment up by 73% too. Labor says crime is down when it suits it, but these statistics say otherwise. And let us not forget the tragic circumstances that led to a surge of deaths in women in our community due to domestic violence. It took literally women marching on the steps of Parliament for this government to eventually even take action. And this budget is basically silent with any contingency around the funding of recommendations of the Royal Commission. We know services are currently struggling to handle the volume of calls that they're receiving each day, yet they did not receive funding in this so-called law and order budget. And let's look at that, and sir, whether it actually was a law and order budget. Well, sir, Labor's secret state, what did it mean? It meant that South Australians will not be able to see the report that actually examined the state of policing here in South Australia. Why won't they release it, sir? Why won't they release it? Despite the Commissioner of Police claiming that it would be in the public interest for them to do so. Interesting. Well, we know, sir, that we do have a shortfall of around 200 police, and last year the same number of officers basically left the force as were recruited. And, sir, without the right incentives, Labor's plan to recruit more police is destined to fail. They just won't do it. They can't do it now. They're not going to do it into the future. Well, sir, a Tarzia Liberal government, if we're given the opportunity, we will not sit on our hands when it comes to keeping South Australians safe. We did it during COVID and we'll do it again. Yeah. We will make sure that our criminal laws and penalties are in line with community expectations. We will ensure that community safety is the primary consideration of decision makers and that we take real measures to break the cycle of reoffending. Under Labor, South Australia has become a gangster's paradise, sir, with new youth and street gangs continuing to emerge and be recruited from interstate. Labor sat on a recommendation from SAPOL that more resources be put into fighting youth crime for a year, and they won't release that report that I mentioned. And then they half-heartedly responded to growing pressure on the youth crime crisis with what, sir? A glossy pamphlet, roundtables with no results, and we will continue to hold this weak government to account when it comes to community safety. Yeah. We've led the way with knife law reform, protecting our community from assaults, and we're only just getting started. Mr. Speaker, the cost of living is also worth mentioning because it is crushing South Australians at the moment, and Labor has no plan to fix it. You only have to look at the budget. Limited cost of living relief in this budget does not go far enough. While we welcome efforts to reduce the cost of public transport for students, there is so much more that could have been done and should have been done. And we know on this side of the House that South Australians know how to spend their money far, far better than the government. The cost of living is crushing South Australians. Under this government recently, we've seen electricity is up around 44%, eggs up 38%, bread up 26%, rent up 19%, insurance is up 47%. And as I mentioned, the average household now pays $798 more on their power bill per year. Labor promised no new taxes, but as we've heard, then they delivered an $85 average water bill hike for households and introduced a GP payroll tax grab that is making it more expensive. Tarzia Liberal government, sir, will roll back this pain. We'll abolish Labor's water bill price hike. We'll scrap Labor's GP payroll tax grab, and we'll slash stamp duty for first home buyers, including on existing homes. Yeah. We'll reduce wasteful spending, we'll cut red tape, and we'll deliver affordable, reliable energy with policies like our home battery scheme. Yeah. This will save households thousands in upfront costs. It'll push down peak demand. It'll help drive down prices for people to ease the cost of living crunch. Only a Liberal government will put more money back in the pockets of hard-working South Australians. So when it comes to health, Labor's failure in health is quite frankly unforgivable. Their broken promise have left us sicker and waiting longer, and South Australians deserve better. They promised to fix ramping. Simple as that. It's worse than ever. We've now endured 36 of the worst months of ramping in South Australia's history. In May, 4,791 hours were spent on ramps, over double the figure from February 2022. We're into the fourth quarter, sir. It's not the first quarter. It's not the second quarter. We're around 80% through. We need to move away from looking at the stats here and remember what this means for people as well. What this means is that 6 South Australians are left stranded outside of our hospitals, desperate to get in for the care that they needed. Even in my own community, sir, even in my own community, I've seen what happens to a beloved Hectorville resident at the time, Eddie, who was described by those who knew him best as a gentle giant and was living in disability care, who died after waiting 10 hours for an ambulance to arrive. These are the stories, sir, the real-life tragedies behind the statistics. The stories of those let down by a government that was, quite frankly, elected on a promise to fix ramping, but has fallen tragically short. Tragically short. And whilst our Premier hangs out with celebrities or helps design new golf courses, why aren't we talking about ramping today? We're talking about golf courses again. And while he hangs out with celebrities or helps design these new golf courses, less than half of emergency patients are seen within 10 minutes, which is something like the worst rate in Australia. Sir, Women's and Children's Hospital, reportedly delayed by years. Professionals who signed off on minutes with a 2-year difference to the time delay. They can't even recruit senior people and keep senior people in the hospital. Sir, I mean, where have we got to? Well, a Tassie Liberal government will rebuild our health system.
Hear, hear.
And today, sir, I'm delighted to announce that what we will announce today is that a Liberal government will fund a GP after-hours increased access trial to support GP clinics provide after-hours care to South Australians, including until 8 p.m, Monday to Friday, and from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Sundays. This will be a 2-year trial that will give more South Australians the opportunity to access routine and preventative GP care outside of traditional business hours. Sir, I've been that young parent. I am that young parent that sometimes will do anything to try and get their child into a GP. And you go online and you can't get in. And you make a phone call and you can't get your child booked into a GP. Well, sir, that is exactly what this policy will seek to address with many parents at the moment that can't get their child into a GP. Why should people have to go to an emergency department to get a GP to check out their child? So we're very proud to announce that policy. It's a 2-year trial and will give more South Australians the opportunity to access routine and preventative GP care outside of traditional business hours. GP clinics under our plan, they would receive a grant of $150,000 per practice per annum to meet additional costs of operating after hours, including wages for practice staff, on-call allowances, and facility costs associated with keeping practices open for extended hours. Because we need to do everything we can to keep people out of our hospitals if they don't need to be there. And this is an initiative would support that. And in 2020, there was an Australian Health Panel survey conducted by the Consumers Health Forum that found 67% of respondents had access after-hours primary care at least once in the previous 5 years, with most after-hours care being accessed between 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. on weekdays. After-hours options allow people to access their GP without taking time off work. And this complements our existing commitment to abolish Labor's GP payroll tax grab so that you pay less to see a doctor. And will deliver long overdue radiotherapy to the South East because why should your postcode deliver your health outcomes, sir? Will help to bridge the funding gap to deliver critical cancer treatment closer to home, sparing patients long, exhaustive journeys. We'll also prioritise regional health services and mental health support, addressing the root causes of crime, but also social strain. Because South Australians deserve a health system that saves lives, not one that leaves them waiting. And so, in terms of small business, we as Liberals, we believe in a South Australia where every business has the opportunity to thrive and every worker has the chance to succeed. But Labor's 44% electricity price hike, water bill price hikes are crushing families and crushing businesses even more. We're seeing small businesses that are closing weekly, unable to absorb these costs. Over the last year, we've seen confidence levels in SA hitting the lowest confidence levels since COVID. And 2,500 more South Australians have left the state for other parts of Australia than have come in the over 2.5 years to the September quarter. We'll turn this around, sir. We'll turn this around, and only a Liberal government will provide tax reform to support small businesses. What will we do? We'll lift the payroll tax threshold to $2.1 million. We'll give small businesses room to grow, room to hire, room to innovate. Only a Liberal government will fix the outdated shop trading hours restrictions. We'll give businesses more freedom to choose when they open. And South Australians the flexibility to shop when it suits them. We will boost local economies. We'll create jobs. We'll unleash an innovation boom. We'll invest in skills training, reduce red tape to reverse the brain drain, attract young talent and foster entrepreneurship. South Australia will be a hub of opportunity, not this state of missed chances. These policies will unleash South Australia's potential to create a vibrant economy where hard work pays off. Mr. Speaker, we've reflected on where Labor has led us. They promised to fix ramping. It's worse than ever. 140,000 hours or so lost since they took office. They promised no new taxes, yet they delivered water bill price hikes and a GP payroll tax grab. They promised cheaper power, sir. Households pay $798 more annually, 44% increase. They promise homes, yet Adelaide, on the facts, on the stats, is the 6th least affordable city globally, and supply is falling short of targets. This budget is not a plan for South Australia's future. Under Labor, it's a blueprint for failure. Labor's near $50 billion in state debt, set to cost $6.7 million a day, daily in interest, raids our kids' piggy banks and locks in hardship for generations. South Australians face a stark choice. 4 more years of Labor's broken promises, skyrocketing costs, unaffordable homes, health system in crisis, or a Liberal government that delivers. Under a Tassie Liberal government, we'll restore the South Australian promise, the South Australian dream. We'll make home ownership a reality. We'll reward hard work. We'll build safer, stronger communities. We'll stand with our regions, with our brothers and our sisters in the country. We'll protect our heritage. We'll deliver a health system that works. Let me paint a picture of the South Australia we'll build. It's a state where young people can buy their first home in a safe community with a good school, with affordable and reliable essential services nearby. It's a state where households can rely on abundant renewable energy and not have to choose between eating and heating. It's a state where our regional communities are respected and supported by a government that values their contribution. This is the South Australia that we're fighting for. A state where every key worker, every family, every dreamer can afford a home, turn on their heater, put food on the table in a community that's safe and that's proud. A state where hard work is rewarded, sir, not punished. A state where the promise of opportunity is kept, not broken. Only a Liberal-led government will build the homes and cut red tape. We'll lower taxes for business and fees for households. We'll deliver more accessible and reliable essential services, and return dignity and respect to our regions. Mr. Speaker, this coming election, South Australia is at a crossroads. Labor's path is predictable. We've seen it. We've seen it for 3 years. Spin, debt, broken promises, bad priorities, just like they're pursuing today. But the Liberal path is crystal clear. Homes for the next generation. Affordable, reliable, essential services there when you need them. A budget that honours taxpayer dollars. Safer streets, stronger regions and a booming economy. Let me paint the picture of the South Australia we will build. A place where every young person can afford a home. A place where young families thrive in safe, vibrant communities. A place where small businesses grow, innovators stay, and every South Australia gets a fair go. The promise of South Australia should never be a memory. It should be a reality for every citizen in every corner of this great state. It's time to restore that promise. It's time for a government that listens, that acts and delivers on its promises. It's time to return South Australia to its rightful place as a beacon of opportunity. And it's time for a new Liberal government